皆さんこんにちは。今日は朝鮮と台湾の教育と同化のことを発表させていただきます。実は帝国と日本人たちのためにこの外地を征服しました。本当に一味とはありかよ。Think back on those last few seconds. Learning about anything in another language is overwhelming, isn't it? The people of Taiwan and Korea were subjected to Japanese colonialism for decades. Practically every aspect of these ethnic Taiwanese and Korean lives drastically changed as they were pressured to adopt the Japanese culture, language, and nationality. Indeed, the people of Taiwan and Korea were expected to become Japanese. This was the process of assimilation.
The primary medium through which the Japanese Empire sought to assimilate its Taiwanese and Korean subjects was through education. Primary education was especially important as Japanese officials sought to teach colonial students from a young age. In order to achieve this, native schools, Sodong in Korea and traditional Chinese schools in Taiwan, were standardized by their respective governments general. The assimilation of colonial subjects also took the form of ethnic Korean and Taiwanese students flocking to the metropole for higher education. This mainly included attending Japanese universities such as Tokyo Imperial University. Utilizing a variety of oral histories, I argue that not only were these Korean and Taiwanese students assimilated into the wider Japanese empire through education, but that ethnic Japanese experienced reciprocal assimilation as they were exposed to the culture, languages, and experiences of their newly gained brethren. Indeed, the inclusion of ethnic Korean and Taiwanese into the Japanese Empire invariably impacted each subject, as even ethnic Japanese became tied to a wider expanse of territory, in the form of an imperial family. This conclusion is further supplemented by the introduction of language schools, both Korean and traditional Mandarin, in Japan in Koshu Kai schools, as Japanese sought to learn more about their imperial brethren. The Japanese reception and reaction to both their Korean and Taiwanese brethren and overarching imperialism were therefore by no means monolithic. The past continues to shape the present, especially as Japan's complicated relationships with both Korea and Taiwan respectively have changed over recent decades. Indeed, issues regarding language, trade disputes, and international relations remain relevant today. It is therefore essential that we recognize and grapple both with the brutal aspects of Japanese imperialism and assimilation, as well as with the reception, enrichment, and reciprocal assimilation of Japanese subjects that took place simultaneously from 1895 to 1945. Thank you.